You notice it in quiet moments. Perhaps you are sitting in a room where laughter rises easily around you, but you feel slightly apart, as if the energy of the room moves a little faster than you can match. Not slower in mind exactly, but in feeling the world feels younger, brighter, less burdened than you, and a subtle sense of being out of sync settles in your chest. You are not unhappy. You are not anxious. You are simply aware of a weight, a depth, a tiredness that feels older than the calendar might suggest. It comes in gestures, the way you lean slightly forward when listening, the careful measurement of words before they leave your lips, the quiet habit of taking responsibility before anyone asks. Your eyes notice things that others miss, the unsaid tension, the fleeting discomfort, the soft hesitation in others' voices. You carry an attentiveness, a vigilance that sometimes makes ordinary moments feel fuller, heavier. And there is a subtle ache in that awareness, a recognition that your inner rhythm does not always match the pace of the world around you. You might feel it in your body. Perhaps your shoulders carry a trace of remembered struggles. A certain tightness lingers in your chest, a gentle pressure behind your ribs like an echo of all the times you learned to manage, to anticipate, to adapt. It is not dramatic, not debilitating, but it is real. And you notice it particularly in the quiet, when no one is watching, when the day slows, and the soft hum of life allows you to feel the weight of the years you've carried within you. Sometimes it shows in relationships. You may arrive at gatherings with curiosity and openness, but find yourself observing, processing, and holding space more than participating fully. You notice the ease with which others speak and move, and you feel a subtle difference, a sense of distance, as if your internal pace is attuned to something older, something more reflective. You carry wisdom, perhaps, but also an awareness of fragility, of subtle consequences, of threads of emotion that are invisible to the casual glance. It comes in your reactions, too. A joke that lands lightly on others may feel more complex to you. A moment of chaos may stir not just surprise, but reflection, consideration, and foresight. You notice nuances in speech, gestures, and expression that others miss. You feel the weight of moments not yet spoken, the undercurrent of interactions that ripple quietly beneath the surface. And sometimes, this awareness can be quietly exhausting, not because life is heavy, but because you perceive more of its texture than most. You may also recognize it in memory. You recall moments that others dismiss, situations that required subtle negotiation, emotional labor, or careful timing. These memories are layered, multicolored, and often unnoticed by those around you. You carry them quietly, and in doing so, your inner timeline stretches, making you feel as though your lived experience contains more than your years might suggest. It is not a burden in the conventional sense, but a persistent, quiet presence that shapes how you move through the world. And yet there is something protective in this rhythm. Feeling older than your age is often a survival pattern, a way your mind and body have learned to navigate complexity. You notice potential risks, anticipate outcomes, and consider the nuances of human behavior with care. You have honed your sensitivity. You have become skilled at balancing observation with action. In many ways, this attunement is a strength, though it is not always recognized, not always mirrored, and not always shared. There is also a quiet loneliness in this pattern. You may feel slightly out of step with peers, as if they are dancing to a rhythm you no longer hear as clearly. You may find humor, spontaneity, and lightheartedness both delightful and distant, as though watching from behind a thin veil. The contrast is subtle but persistent. It is not a judgment, not a failure, just a quiet awareness of difference. And in that awareness, there is a trace of melancholy, a soft sigh for what feels just out of reach, effortless presence in the now, uncomplicated by reflection or foresight. This sensitivity can extend to work, relationships, and even solitude. You may find yourself observing patterns, listening to subtext, considering potential consequences of small actions. You notice when someone is strained, when a gesture is hesitant, when a word carries weight beyond the moment. This attentiveness can make your presence deeply supportive, quietly stabilizing, and unexpectedly grounding for others. but it can also leave your own internal rhythm feeling slightly detached, slightly ahead, slightly behind, always measuring, always anticipating, always aware. And in recognizing this pattern, a subtle clarity begins to emerge. Feeling older than your age is not a flaw or a deficit. It is a reflection of adaptation, of learned survival, of careful attunement to the world's subtleties. It allowed you to navigate spaces with insight, to notice what others overlooked, to move cautiously where others moved freely. This pattern served a purpose, and awareness allows you to see it, to acknowledge it without judgment, without shame. You may begin to notice the relief that comes from recognition alone. Relief not because things change immediately, but because seeing the pattern provides perspective. You see that the depth, attentiveness, and quiet reflection you carry are coherent, understandable, and human. You begin to recognize that the feeling of being older is a lens, a way you perceive the world, not a verdict on your worth, not a measure of failure, and not a barrier to connection or joy. This awareness can gently guide your attention inward. You may allow yourself to breathe differently, more fully, noticing the rhythm of your own body and mind without judgment. You may recognize small moments of alignment, where your pace and energy harmonize with your surroundings, and others where they do not. The recognition itself becomes a form of grounding. You can observe without needing to correct or change. You can witness yourself without obligation. Awareness offers choice, not demand. In relationships, this recognition allows subtle shifts. You may notice moments where you can step lightly into engagement or choose reflection. You may allow your insights to exist without always sharing them, honoring your own rhythm. You may observe the energy of a room or the dynamics of a conversation and simply notice, without requiring that others see as you see. And in this observation, you cultivate a quiet authority over your own presence, a calm stewardship of your internal experience. You may find that there is a delicate joy in understanding your rhythm, not dramatic, not immediate, but a slow, soft satisfaction in knowing yourself more fully. You may notice that your attentiveness, your nuanced perception, and your thoughtful presence are strengths, even if they feel at odds with the world's pace. You may allow yourself to honor these qualities gently, acknowledging the subtle wisdom embedded in your lived experience. And in moments of reflection, you may notice the possibility of gentle ease, not freedom from all awareness, not a radical transformation, but an invitation to inhabit your own body and mind with soft attention. You may allow yourself to step into experiences more fully, recognizing that the lens of perceived age is one of perspective, not limitation. You may notice that moments of spontaneity, laughter, and lightness are accessible, even while your internal rhythm remains aware, reflective, and nuanced. There is a subtle hope in this recognition. Not a promise, not a guarantee, not a dramatic revelation, but a soft, quiet reassurance that your experience is coherent, understandable, and valid. You may begin to notice the comfort of knowing your patterns, the clarity of recognizing how your attention and sensitivity shape your life, and the gentle freedom that comes from seeing yourself without judgment. Awareness is enough. Reflection is enough. Recognition itself is a quiet relief. You may begin to inhabit your presence more consciously. You may notice how your body moves, how your mind interprets, how your attention lingers on certain details. You may allow yourself to be both attentive and relaxed, aware and gentle. You may notice that the feeling of being older than your age no longer dictates your experience. It simply informs it, offering insight, depth, and subtle guidance. And in this quiet presence, you may discover self-compassion. Not a radical shift, not an extraordinary change, but a steady, grounded understanding that you are human, you are aware, and your internal rhythm is valid. You may allow yourself to observe, reflect, and acknowledge, resting in the soft comfort of recognition. Your awareness gives choice. Your reflection offers perspective. Your experience, thoughtful, attentive, subtly weighted, is entirely yours, valid, and worthy of gentle acknowledgement. If you return to this reflection later, you may find yourself observing the world with renewed clarity. You may notice where your pace aligns with the flow of life, where it diverges, and how your nuanced perception offers insight and depth. You may continue to carry awareness as a companion quietly, without pressure or obligation. And in this companionship, you may notice the subtle strength of your presence, perceptive, reflective, quietly enduring, and human. And in this recognition, you may finally sense a gentle reassurance that feeling older than your age is not a deficit, not a burden, not a flaw. It is a lens, a rhythm, a pattern learned for navigation and survival. It is coherent, understandable, and human. You are safe with this knowledge. You are grounded. You are present. And in that presence, there is a quiet hope. The hope of knowing yourself, of observing yourself, and of inhabiting your inner world with gentle care, without demand, without judgment, without haste.